All right, guys. Parker with Parker Construction. I am starting to get frozen pipe calls already. Well, frozen hose bibs, not frozen pipes. It's warming up. The frozen hose bibs are what's coming in now. I wanted to give some tips to avoid it for some of you next year and hopefully save yourself some headache. So, this is a hose bib, frost-free hose bib. The number one cause why these break and why I get called out, people leave their hoses connected during the winter. A lot of people think how this breaks is the freezing of the pipe, the ice where it's at actually causes the burst. That's not true. What happens is the hose is typically still connected. It can happen without the hose connected, but typically the hose was left on over the winter. The hose itself starts freezing. The water starts freezing up into the hose bib itself. Somewhere back here in the house, you have a valve that's closed, so the water doesn't have anywhere to go. There's nowhere to relieve the pressure. The ice is freezing on its way in, and once it gets to a certain point, it causes a burst, just like this. Let me see if I can get that. Yep, you can see it there. So this isn't necessarily where the ice froze and expanded and burst it. The ice was probably up here working its way back through, and because there's no pressure relief anywhere in the house or from the spigot, since it was frozen solid, it burst. It ruptured. So how do you stop it? Well, number one, take off your hoses in the winter. That's the number one thing. Ice will travel up and back into the pipe. If your hose is disconnected, it's much less likely that it'll start freezing. Other options are to leave valves open, whether that's the hose bib itself, so that the hose bib has a slow drip coming out and it can relieve some of that pressure, or somewhere in the house have a valve open, whether that be your sink or shower or whatever the case may be. That will give somewhere for the water to relieve pressure. When everything is closed and you've got ice coming into the pipe, that pressure is going to build and it's going to cause a burst just like this one. I had a customer call me in the middle of the night the other day that her kitchen was flooding and she had no idea where the water was coming from. It looked like it was coming from underneath the cabinets. It was a hose bib behind the cabinets inside the wall cavity and was spraying inside the wall cavity and just worked her way through the kitchen and pretty much ruined her kitchen. So best things to do, leave your hose bib off, leave water running somewhere. If you do have a break, give us a call. What we usually see is when it starts getting warm, like today it was pretty warm. Usually the first day that we're above like 60 degrees, 70 degrees is when everybody goes outside, they put their hoses back on, they start working in the flower beds or washing their car, whatever the case may be. They've got their hose running the whole time. These frost-free hose bibs, how they work is there's a rubber gasket back here connected to a metal rod, and so it shuts off back in your house. That makes it much less likely that you'll have a freeze like this. However, if you do get a freeze anyway, lots of times the rubber gasket is on the other side of the break, so it doesn't leak until you turn it back on. So you could have burst pipes right now and not even know it until you go use your hoses. What happens is your rubber gasket gets back here, the break is up here. When you turn on your hose for the first time each year, that rubber gasket moves to the other side of the break and you start getting water spraying inside your house. So watch that when you go out and use your hose for the first time. You may have a break and not even know it until you go turn your hose on. If you do have that happen to you, if you get water damage issues, give us a call, 509-331-9000. We use infrared cameras. We'll come out, take a look, inspect damages, see how far the water got and what may need to be done to remedy the situation. Again, Parker with Parker Construction. Hopefully this helps somebody and gives a better understanding of how the freezes work.